Hey friends, and welcome to this week's episode of the In Between podcast with Paige Allen. So I'm just sitting down this week and talking about some simple lessons I learned, and guess where? The Garth Brooks concert. That's right. I love how God can talk to us in all sorts of different moments. So if you ever have kind of wondered, does faithfulness really pay off? I want to encourage you to listen in on this one. I think God has a message not just for me, but for you as well. Welcome to another episode of The In-Between with Paige Allen. Today it's just me, and this might sound kind of funny, but I actually want to talk to you about what I learned at the Garth Brooks concert this weekend. I know I have people watching all over and listening in different places, but for those of you that are in Lubbock, where I am, you know this weekend was kind of a Garth Brooks frenzy around here. He did, I think, 5 shows. Between Thursday and Sunday this past weekend. I've actually got my Garth Brooks Blame It All on My Roots shirt on today. And I actually was praying this morning about, okay, I have scheduled to record a podcast. I had different ideas that I thought I might do. And while I was praying, I kept coming back to this thought about sharing with all of you this kind of lesson that I learned while I was at the Garth Brooks concert on Saturday. Like I said, it was a frenzy. It was crazy. There were so many people, and it was a great concert. He's a wonderful performer. He's kind of crazy, and but also very endearing and warm, and really connects well with the audience. But there was one moment in the concert that, when I think back on it, it absolutely stood out from all the rest of the time. And it was actually Trisha Yearwood. His wife was on stage. She had been sharing a couple of songs, and she starts to introduce a few members of the band, and she gets to one lady who is one of the backup singers, and she makes a comment that she actually has written a few of the songs that Trisha Yearwood has recorded. And she says, you know, I actually had a request this morning to sing Georgia Rain, and she said my backup singer is actually the writer of this song. And so she called her out and said, I want her to come down and to sing harmony with me. And so this background singer comes down and she sings harmony. Trisha still sings, you know, the main part. And as they're singing, Garth comes back out on the stage, and things kind of get quiet. And Trisha says, you know what? I think to end this, you need to really sing this song to the background singer. And Garth and we need to sing back up. And so this lady, she kind of takes the stage, but she's still kind of in the back a little bit. And Garth actually comes up to her and he says, no, you're going to come up here. And he moves her to front and center of the stage. Then he and Trisha Yearwood, they back way off where they are not the focus. And this lady sings. She sings her song that she's written, that Trisha Yearwood has made famous. And it was just beautiful. She was tearing up. Garth and Trisha were tearing up. I was tearing up, and the audience just went crazy, obviously, for this lady, because she was so fantastic. And first of all, I couldn't help but think, man, what a picture of leadership that Garth and Trisha had in that moment. You know, because I think a true leader opens doors for others. And they celebrate them. And even as Garth was closing out the concert for that specific show, he said, you know what, you guys, I feel like this show, it has meant so much to me. Maybe he does this every time, but he said, you know what meant so much to me? It's just how you guys celebrated. Her name was Karen. How you celebrated Karen as she came up. And you could tell that it was also an impactful part of the show for him as well. And I just walked away thinking, man, that's such a good example of leadership. You know, that leaders, they're not insecure or intimidated by the giftings and the talents of others, but they celebrate them. And in fact, when they have the doors to open, they do what they can to open those doors for them. One of my favorite quotes is by Charlotte Gamble. And I heard her one time speak a message on Ruth and Naomi. And she said this, she says, favor is fair when it's shared. And I've always loved that. I've heard people say, you know, favor ain't fair, which is true. We don't do anything to deserve favor, especially favor from the Lord. But when we are given favor, or when we do have opportunities in front of us, man, we can make it so much more impactful and powerful when we share it with others. So I kind of learned those lessons from Garth and Trisha. But really, what I've been reflecting on is this lady, this background singer, Rochelle. And, you know, I lately have been thinking about this whole concept of how sometimes, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I just wonder if anybody really knows my name. I mean, a lot of people know my name. I know that. But do you have those moments when you just feel like, God, I feel like you've given me all these ideas or these dreams or these thoughts, and I just kind of don't know what to do with them. I don't know how to get them out. I've been reading the Bible, and I keep coming back over and over to stories of different women who literally don't have a name. They're nameless women. We know their story, but we're not given their name. And I keep thinking, sometimes I think as women we feel that way, like we're this nameless woman. And what I've loved about the stories in the Bible as I've read them is that God, and Jesus specifically in the Gospels, he always sees them. And so I've had those thoughts running through my head, and then I'm at this concert, and I watch this woman get up, and these are the lessons that I took away from her that I just felt like I was supposed to share with you today. The first one is this, is to be generous with your gifts. You see, what I've done some research. Her name is Rochelle. Did some research on her afterwards when I came home, because again, I'm so moved. And what I found is this lady, first of all, she's a great singer. She's an excellent songwriter. And over the last 20 plus years, she has written songs for all kinds of great musicians. I mean, it said that her first hit was written for George Jones, but then she's written for Trisha Yearwood, Reba McEntire, Leanne Rimes, Kelly Pickler. And so she's written all of these great songs. And I thought for a minute about my own life. If that was me, if I was a great songwriter, it might be hard for me to share those great songs with other people. Does that make sense? You know, I think in our world sometimes we kind of are taught, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, this thought that you need to hoard your best stuff. You know, you keep it for yourself, because one day this elusive thing or stage is going to open up to you, and then you're going to have an arsenal of great stuff. But this lady was such an example, and what God's been challenging me with is that we need to be generous with our gifts. And so I kind of want to challenge you with that today. I'm challenging myself with that, you know. Don't save your best stuff for one day. Maybe you're an artist, or maybe you have a really blessed marriage, and people are wondering, you know, what's their secret to that? Be generous with that. Be generous. Give it away. This lady gave away her best material. I'm sure she got paid, but she was generous with her best stuff, and I think she's starting to see great reward from that. What it makes me think of is this quote from, I actually shared this in my last email, Nothing to Prove book by Jenny Allen. God has so been wrecking me with this quote. She says this: if you make influence your goal, your heart will be consumed with what the world thinks. Let's think about that. I think it's so true. If you make influence your goal, your heart will become consumed with what the world thinks. You'll miss the Holy Spirit's incredible work right in front of you. Your soul will get so sick because it will never be satisfied. And rather than give God away through your gifts, you will use Him to get somewhere. You see, I think because this lady has been so generous with her gifts, that's one reason that Garth and Trisha know that they can elevate her and celebrate her, because she doesn't have this other agenda in the background where she's trying to work angles. They just know she loves music. She loves to write songs. She wants to bless the world with her music, so to speak. And so they can trust her fully. God has just really been messing with me. I've been praying this actually of, you know what, God, I don't want influence to become my goal.
I don't want to miss what the Holy Spirit is doing right in front of me today. I want the Lord to know that my gifts are completely surrendered to however he wants to use them, because I do not in any way want to reverse that and try to use God to get me somewhere. So that was the first thing I learned from her. What I kept thinking about was this lady, she used her voice regardless of the platform. And I want to encourage you with that today. Some of you, there is this thought, this idea, this concept burning inside of you, and you need to use your voice regardless of what your platform looks like today. Some of you need to create your own platform. You need to start writing. You need to start speaking. Sometimes we think, oh man, God has given me all these ideas and these thoughts, and one day I'm going to be invited to speak or to share or whatever. But you know what? Your platform can be today. I remember when I was a college pastor, and I had all these dreams of preaching, and the Lord said, you know what, Paige, you need to start to use those gifts today. And so I actually started a small group with college girls at 6 a.m. in my house. I was a new mom, and that was the only time I really had available. And I thought to myself, no one's going to come at 6 a.m. to learn from me. Like, God, it would make so much more sense if I waited and I used these gifts once I have this platform available to me. But what I've realized is that message that was in my heart, it actually wasn't fully developed yet. It became developed as I was faithful right where I was, and I started to disciple those girls at 6 a.m. in my house. And so use your voice regardless of the platform. Where are you today? Maybe there's moms that you see at school, and you can use your voice with them. Maybe it's at work, and you can start like some kind of lunch group. And it doesn't even have to be this like Bible study. It could just be, hey, let's go to lunch. And it could just be a natural conversation. Or maybe you love to write, and you've been contemplating, would anybody actually read if I had a blog? You know what? Start one. I think you might be so shocked. Or write something out on social media. Just use your voice. I find that God always steps in once we start moving. He doesn't ever push us to do something. Instead, he says, all right, you go ahead, you get started, and then he steps in. One last little thought is you know what? Never underestimate faithfulness. It kind of goes hand in hand with that. But this lady, like, she has just been so faithful for years. She's used her gift right where she is. And I just want to challenge you with that today is don't underestimate faithfulness wherever you are today. There are things in front of you. I ask people often, what are you struggling with, or what are you asking God about? And so often I hear people say, I'm trying to figure out my purpose, which is, that is a heavy, hard, legitimate question. But what I've always found in my life is if I will just be faithful where I am today, then God opens doors tomorrow that they kind of start to line up, and they help me to discover my purpose. Find your lane today. God may change you and move you to another lane tomorrow, but if you will be faithful in whatever your lane looks like today, then God, the Bible says, he who's faithful with a little, then God can trust him to be faithful with a lot. And so if you're just waiting for the a lot moment, this different lane over here, you might be waiting a really long time. And so don't underestimate faithfulness. You've just got to say yes to where you are today. Get in your lane. Stop looking at all the lanes around you and comparing what's going on between you and others today. Just embrace where you are today. Make the most of it. And I think you'll just be amazed at what God can do. So I just want to encourage you with that. I also want to give you this thought. Do you know God can speak to you when you're at a Garth Brooks concert? He can. He absolutely can. I feel like there are lessons waiting for us all throughout our day, just the normal, ordinary day. So when you have that moment, like I did at Garth Brooks, where all of a sudden you're feeling like, all choked up and there's these things happening, stop right then and just ask God, like, okay, are you trying to say something to me? Are you speaking something to me? And just start to write down whatever thoughts come to your mind. And you might be amazed at how he's giving you a little lesson for your own life in that moment, regardless if you're just on a walk outside or if you're in the middle of thousands of screaming people singing, I've got friends in low places, because that's how God works. He's not just in a church building. He is everywhere, and he wants to speak to you today. So I hope that encourages you. Get in your lane. Be faithful. For those of you that God has opened some amazing doors, start sharing those doors with other people. And let's all learn from Rochelle, a lady who probably at times in her life felt like no one knew her name. But I guarantee you, I'm not going to forget her name, and her life impacted me, and your life is meant to impact someone. All right, y'all have a great week. I'll see you next time on the In Between.
Thanks for listening this week, you guys. It really has been my prayer all day that you would just walk away from this podcast with one bit of truth that you know is for you. Maybe you need to be reminded that faithfulness is always worth it. Or maybe it's just this kind of thought that God is wanting to talk to you, regardless of where you find yourself today. So listen, look around, and be aware of what he's trying to say to you. Hey, I'm loving writing an email every other week to all of my email subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to head over to theinbetween.com and subscribe today. I've got a great interview lined up for next week, so I look forward to you guys listening or watching then. Until next time, have a great week wherever the in-between it is that you find yourself. All right.